If you're new, welcome for the first time. My name is Keith, and I'm a meditation teacher. And we usually spend our Wednesdays here together on YouTube, talking about meditation, meditating together, explaining what meditation is, how it works, why it works. And then we always look at a specific topic that we are going to we always do like a specific meditation each week, right? We talk about a topic and we meditate on it. So today's topic is about procrastinating, right? Or having like a lack of motivation. Very near and dear to me, as I'm sure it is to a lot of people. It's a pretty common feeling, definitely something that I feel a lot. So after we talk about meditation and do a little intro to meditation, we're going to focus on procrastination, lack of motivation, identifying where we fall on the spectrum of procrastination, and what we can do about it, right? And then how meditation can help us kind of be motivated. All right. If you are new, ask questions. So the beauty of the live stream is you can ask questions in real time, right? Whereas if maybe you're using an app or something to meditate also, you might be like, oh, am I doing this right? I'm not really sure. Just ask. And if you're not comfortable asking in the chat, or you think of something after we're done, you can always email me. I'll put my email in the chat later. So you can email me at any time. We can work out what you're having trouble with or what was confusing. Samantha, great topic. This is a doozy. I usually teach this in 2 classes. I might actually do that back to back here, because it is it's a pretty deep topic. Procrastination. Okay, so for those that are new, maybe you're wondering, well, what is meditation? I don't even know what this is. Well, I don't even know what's going on. So meditation is a way of familiarizing your mind with something, right? It's a technique, a learning tool to familiarize your mind with something, right? So if we think about something we're really familiar with, maybe like riding a bike or driving a car. I use that example a lot, right? It comes very natural to us. If I was like, hey, go drive down the street, right, to the store, you'd be like, okay. And then you just don't really have to think too much about it. You're just doing it, right? Because driving is very familiar to your mind, right? But there was a time where it wasn't that way, right? If I, back before you ever knew how to drive, I was like, hey, drive down the street. Be like, oh boy, you start sweating. Okay, here's the mirror, 10 and 2, right? Or like riding a bike, you got the training wheels on. It didn't always come that naturally, right? But through familiarity, we can start to see that riding a bike becomes easier. And the same is true for our mind, for our emotions, right? For things like patience or kindness or gratitude, all these things that might not be that familiar to us. We don't really practice them that much, right? And so when we need to call upon something like patience, right, it's not easy, right? Because it's not familiar to us, right? So meditation is all about becoming familiar with these good things like patience and gratitude and kindness and all that wonderful stuff, right? And the method that we do it is similar to anything. We have to train, we have to practice, right? But before we can really start to become familiar with some of these things, we have to learn how to calm our mind, right? Because normally our mind is not very calm. It's very distracted. It's doing a lot of different things all at once. And it becomes hard for us to really settle in to learn something. So really meditation is kind of a 2-step process. One, we relax our mind, and then we use that relaxed mind to investigate something, learn about something, become familiar with something that we want to become familiar with. And the analogy I love to use here, I think it really kind of hits home at this, is if imagine you're standing at a very still, calm lake, right? You can see the reflection in the lake, right? It's very clear. If it starts to rain a little bit, the reflection becomes less clear. And the more rain there is, the less clear the reflection is in the lake. Our mind is like a still lake, normally very calm, very peaceful, very collected, very reasonable, right? But all of the anxieties and stress and distractions that are going on throughout the day, all the thoughts bouncing around in our head constantly each day, they're like raindrops falling on the lake. And it makes it hard for us to think reasonably, right? We start to panic about things, right? Things become less clear to us, just like the reflection in the lake. So we want to start meditating by clearing away some of these raindrops, by learning how to relax, right? Sounds good, right? That's probably why you're here. Most people get into meditation to be less stressed, to relax. So that's what we're going to do right now. And the method we're going to use to do this is called single-pointed concentration, right? All that means is focusing on one thing, which is easier said than done, right? Talk about familiarity. We are not very familiar with focusing on one thing. We're very familiar with having our mind wander, with having our mind multitask, right? Basically, what we're going to do here is not multitask, which can be challenging, right? We're going to focus so much on one thing, our breath, breathing meditation, probably heard of that before. We're going to focus so much on our breath that all the other things that are going around in our head are going to start to fade away a little bit. Hey, Rob, welcome back, my friend. They're going to start to fade into the background a little bit, right? That's the goal. That's breathing meditation, right? And the better we get at it, right, the more we practice it, the easier it's going to be for us to stay focused on our breath, and the easier and more quickly all those other thoughts are going to kind of fade into the background, and we're going to find ourselves relaxing a little bit, being more calm. And then we have the choice. We can use this calm mind productively, right? That's meditation, all right? So we're going to do a breathing meditation now, and from an instructional standpoint, it's pretty simple, right? We're just going to focus on our breath. I'm going to guide it. Just listen to what I'm saying, but we're going to focus on our breath. And then when you find that your mind has wandered, maybe thinking about something that happened earlier in the day or something you have to do later, you're going to be like, no, not right now. And just bring your attention back to focusing on your breathing, right? Following your breath in and out, right? And the breath is the reason we use our breath as this kind of focal point for learning how to relax through meditation is because our breath is always with us, right? And this is a huge part of meditation, is starting to learn that we are all capable of being relaxed and calm and peaceful, independent of needing specific things. Like, we don't need perfect quiet. We don't need to leave everyone we've known behind for a month and go up into the mountains. All we need is just a little effort and our breath, and we can start to see some benefits just by focusing on our breathing, right? Some benefits in learning how to relax. Sound good? Let's do that now, and then we'll get into the topic for today, all right? So sit comfortably. If you're laying down, that's also fine. If you're like sitting on a cushion, chair, it doesn't really matter. None of this matters, right? All that matters is that you are comfortable physically, right? You don't want to be in pain, otherwise you'll be focusing on that. And you want to be kind of alert, right? So if you find that you're getting a little sleepy while meditating, which is a very common thing when people start meditating, just kind of check your posture. Make sure you're not like hunched over like this, you know? Sometimes when we hunch over, we nod off a little bit. It happens to me too. Don't worry about it. If it happens, not the end of the world, right? At least you're getting a couple winks in. All right. So you can go ahead and relax a little bit and close your eyes and follow along with what I'm saying. We're going to do about a 5-minute breathing meditation. Okay. Whenever we start a meditation, the first thing we always do is check in with ourselves. Check in with how you are feeling. How are you feeling right now in this moment, this exact moment? Happy, sad, tired, energetic, neutral, whatever it is. It does not matter. All that matters is you begin to notice. Notice what your mind is up to. This is called mindfulness, being aware of what your mind is doing moment to moment. And having checked in, you can now turn your full attention to your breathing in and out of your nose, very gently, very naturally. It is not necessary that you take big, deep breaths or forcefully exhale the air. Just breathe normally in and out. And see if you can follow each in-breath for its entirety. And see if you can follow each out-breath for its entirety. Breathing in and out. Very gently, very naturally. Allow yourself to relax. Maybe at some point you notice that your attention has drifted a bit and is no longer focused exclusively on your breathing. Maybe it's thinking about something that happened earlier in the day or something coming up later. Whenever this happens, just gently guide your attention back to following each breath in and out. Breathing in and out. Very gently, very naturally. Breathing in and out. Enjoying breathing. Enjoying sitting here, relaxing. Keep bringing your attention back to your breath as many times as you need to. This is meditation. You are meditating right now. You are training your mind to relax, to be calm, to be peaceful, to access happiness. How wonderful. So just breathe in and out, following your breath for a little while longer. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. How'd that go? That's just a pretty basic breathing meditation. There's a couple different ways we can do breathing meditation. That's a pretty straightforward one. And maybe that was difficult, right? If this is your first time, maybe you had a hard time focusing on your breath. You shouldn't be surprised by that. It's not something that you do normally, I would imagine, right? Sitting there quietly focusing on your breathing, noticing when you're not focusing on your breathing, bring it back. It's not something that you normally do. So it's going to take practice, right? Because you're not familiar with it. Your mind is not familiar doing with this, just like the example of driving or riding a bike, right? At first, it wasn't familiar, and so it was quite challenging. That was nice. Great. I'm glad you had a good experience. So over time, this becomes easier, and maybe you're sitting there and you're like, my mind was really busy, right? In fact, my mind seemed busier when I meditate. It's a very common thing to say, to think when you're first starting. Really, what you're noticing is how busy your mind is all day long. Isn't that exhausting? Your mind is bouncing around all day long. This is why you're mentally fatigued, mentally exhausted at the end of the day, right? And so this helps with that. This will help you be less mentally fatigued because you're training your mind to relax, to not be jumping all over the place. All right? So this is something that you can do very quickly. You do not need to spend hours meditating. 2 minutes in the morning is awesome if you could work that in, or after work or something, or I don't know, maybe you got 30 seconds. Do that, right? Whatever you can commit to consistently, you're going to find benefits, right? You're going to start to become more familiar with this, and it's going to start to become easier, right? That's breathing meditation. Any questions on breathing meditation or meditation in general, or anything that we kind of just touched on here? If not, don't worry. If something pops up, you can always ask me. This isn't like your only opportunity or anything like that. But before we go on to our topic, which is focusing more on identifying procrastination, right? I want to just make sure that everyone feels pretty good about breathing meditation, because it is like a core pillar of meditation, learning how to relax so we can then investigate something with that relaxed mind. Okay. So, I don't know about you, but I procrastinate all the time. Today's class is really about dealing with like a lack of motivation, right? We actually focused on ways to increase our motivation a couple classes ago. Now we're kind of looking at the other side, right? So I just got a call, but hoping to jump back on. This is so great. Thank you. Oh, I'm so glad. And also, if you can't make it back, these videos are available forever on YouTube. So this one will be available tomorrow, starting tomorrow, about 24 hours. So no worries if you have something come up. Totally get it. So in these classes, each Wednesday, we talk a lot about opposing forces of things, right? So like anger, the opposing force is patience, right? Anger and patience, right? Or jealousy, the opposing force is rejoicing in others' good fortune, right? For lack of motivation, it's effort, right? So this is like the opposing forces here, right? So it's sort of like a seesaw, right? The old playground structure. So if we have more of A, we have less of B. If we have more of B, we have less of A, right? So if our mind is very familiar with anger, it's very hard to be patient, right? If we can tilt the seesaw in the other direction and we are very familiar with patience, it becomes harder for us to get angry, right? So for today, right, we want to kind of tilt the scales in the direction of effort, right? Right now, it's probably the seesaw is probably favoring procrastination, favoring a lack of motivation. And so we want to kind of tilt it in the other direction, right? And so the way that we're going to start to do this is first by learning about procrastination, right? Learning about what is our mind doing when it's procrastinating, right? Meditation is all about understanding how your mind works, right? So you can use that information to live a better life. So first we have to kind of look at procrastination, like what's going on there. And we're going to focus on three kind of, I call them like cogs in the wheel of our lack of motivation. Procrastination, that's the first one, right? Or like delaying, right? We can call it like a delay. Then disinterest, and then discouragement, right? I should probably just use delay instead of procrastination for the 3 Ds, but next time. All right, so this is sort of like a wheel, right? All right, and we're gonna have to break this wheel together. So in the wheel of procrastination, the first cog is procrastination, delaying, the sense of delaying things. right? This part of our lack of motivation, this cog, is the catalyst that really kind of launches us into a cycle of a lack of motivation. Procrastination is like a catalyst of lack of motivation, right? And so procrastination, we can think about what I'm about to say when we're experiencing procrastination. Our mind is sort of like, I know this is important, but now is not the right time, right? I know this thing, this goal I want to do, this thing I need to or want to accomplish, I know this is important to me. I've identified this as something that is important to me. But now is not the right time, right? Have you ever found yourself like thinking that, right? And then we really do a great job of convincing ourselves that this is not the right time, right? There's a million excuses, if you want to call it that, or reasons we come up with that now is not the right time to do this, right? We do this a lot with long-term goals. Like maybe we want to write a book, or we want to learn how to ski, or learn anything, right? That takes a little time, or do anything that takes a little time, right? We've identified this thing as being important, but we like, I'll do this later. I'll write later. Right now, I'm gonna watch a show or something like that. I don't know. We come up with a lot of different things that we can do instead of these things, right? So we do this a lot with long-term goals. We also do it with more simple things, right? Like doing laundry. Well, that's a big one for me. I don't like doing laundry, right? I know it's important to do laundry. I know it's important to have clean clothes, but I'm always saying now is not the right time, right? I'll put it off until it's like desperation time, and I'm forced to do this, right? So we can do it with smaller tasks as well as longer term goals for us, right? So procrastination is kind of this first leap off the cliff of experiencing a lack of motivation. So starting to identify this early, right? When we find ourselves saying these things to ourselves, when we find our mind is thinking now is not the right time, we start to be like, oh, maybe I'm starting to procrastinate. Catch it early, right? We talk a lot about catching things early in meditation because it helps us deal with them skillfully, right? Sort of like a forest fire. If we can catch the fire when it's just one little flame, we can put it out with just a little bucket of water. But if it's left to fester, it becomes a lot more difficult to manage, right? So if we kind of let procrastination fester, sometimes it turns into what I'll call disinterest, right? So with disinterest, with this next kind of cog in the wheel of lack of motivation, isn't fear often a reason for procrastination? Yes. And fear, we're going to get to in a little bit. Fear really resides in you feeling incapable of accomplishing this thing, not confident that you are able to do this thing, right? Yeah, but yes, fear is a massive part of a lot of our emotions and problematic emotions, right? Anxiety is huge fear, right? Anxiety plays into procrastination too, right? So with disinterest, right, we have procrastination, and then kind of let that fester. With disinterest, we start to become very into things that are not our goal, right? We start to become so into things that are not our goal that we start to view our goal as getting in the way of us doing these other things, right? Maybe we want to write a book, right? And we're like, we're procrastinating it. You're really into this show now, right? And then you're like, I got to write 500 words this weekend. That's what I said I was going to do. But now that means I can't watch this show, right? So now what's happening is we're viewing our goal in like a negative way. It's no longer becoming this thing that's driving us. It's becoming like a burden for us to carry. And it's getting in the way of other things, right? We're starting to view it as getting in the way. And so we lose interest in it. We lose the fascination of doing this thing, right? We start to develop like a negative mental link between like, this is like not fun, or this is not good, I don't want to do this, and our goal, right? That we don't want to do that. We don't want our goal to reside in our mind as something that we don't look forward to doing, right? That comes with disinterest, right? Now, if we let disinterest fester, right, we progress in the kind of wheel of lack of motivation, and we start to get to discouragement, which is kind of what Joseph was getting at here. So when we feel discouragement, when we kind of recognize that we've been procrastinating, and we kind of recognize that we've been disinterested in this goal, this thing that's super important to us. And after recognizing it, instead of like being like, oh, I'm going to go do that, we feel incapable of righting the ship, right? We feel that we are a procrastinator, that we have a lack of interest. Like at our very core, that's who we are, and there's nothing I can do about it. We start to say things like, why do I always do this? I can't be a writer. I can't even write 500 words. If I wanted to be a writer, I would do this, right? We start to create a negative self-image based on our kind of mental inclination that we are incapable of accomplishing our goal, right? And this, as you might imagine, being discouraged leads to what? More procrastination, more disinterest, more discouragement, and around and around and around we go, reinforcing this negative self-image that we are not capable of accomplishing this thing that's important to us, or that it's not, maybe we were wrong, it's no longer important to us. Like, we start to convince ourselves all these things because we're going around and around in this wheel and we can't seem to get out. Right? Does that sound familiar at all? Sure does for me. So what do we do? How do we change that, right? How do we use meditation to change this, right? So the first thing we need to start doing is recognizing when we're in this wheel of kind of a lack of motivation and what part we're in. Right? This is very important. Recognition is a massive part of meditation. How does one stop the negative in our mind, right? So the first step to stopping your mind from being negative like this is to relax, right? We talked about this two-step part to meditation. You have to relax your mind because it's probably in a frenzy, or it's very kind of solidified in this like negative state. So we have to just relax it, right? We do that with breathing meditation. And then we have to start to contemplate with a relaxed mind. We have to start to investigate, to contemplate some things that might help us get out of there. And we're going to go over a couple of them now, with, particularly to these discouragement, disinterest, and procrastination, right? But we have to become adept at recognizing, and breathing meditation is really important for training in this, right? If we're in a frenzy, we're probably not picking up on things early, right? Our mind's just all over the place. So we have to become proficient at recognizing when we're starting to procrastinate, when we're feeling disinterested, when we are feeling discouraged, right? What part of this wheel are you in, right? This is mindfulness, right? This is mindfulness. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but mindfulness is, a definition, if you want a definition on it, is being aware of what your mind is doing moment to moment so that you can react skillfully, right, to that, to correct it, to right the ship, right? So maybe you're thinking about the things we've talked about and you're like, man, I sound like I'm in the discouragement camp, right? Maybe that's where you are right now, right? You're feeling discouraged. Well, what can you do about that, right? So if we're feeling discouraged, we need to start separating our thoughts from us, right? right now we think our thoughts define us, right? But they don't define us. Our anxiety doesn't define us. Our feelings of sadness, it doesn't mean that we're inherently a sad person, right? Your mind can experience discouragement without you identifying as a person who is perpetually discouraged, right? Separating what our mind is doing from us, like this sense of like I, is a very important part of meditation, right? It's a very important part of being happy, actually, right? Being able to feel like we're capable of being happy, even when our mind is experiencing something like discouragement, right? At our core, we are very capable. So if you're in this section, right, maybe after doing a breathing meditation, your goal should be to start to think about, contemplate some things that you have accomplished, some things that you have learned over your life. You've learned a lot over the course of your life, right? And you've done that by applying effort, right? At first, you didn't know how to do this. Driving, right? That example, right? You learned how to do that. You did it. You are capable, right? You are capable. So maybe you're thinking about your feelings of lack of motivation, and you're like, you know what? I sound like very much I'm in the disinterested part, right? I'm starting to view my goal as getting in the way of some of my other things that I want to do or whatever. If this is where you find yourself, I'd recommend you calm your mind with breathing meditation, right? See a pattern here. And then we're going to remind ourselves why we want to do this. Why do we want to achieve this goal in the first place? What are the benefits of accomplishing your goal? Imagining, using our imagination to imagine what our life would be like if we accomplished this goal. What we're starting to do with this kind of, in this section, is reignite the flame, right? Reignite the spark of aspiration that we really want to do this, right? Because we lose that a little bit when we're disinterested. We lose this flame that motivates us to keep pursuing the thing that we have determined to be really important to us. So we want to remind ourselves why, right? If you like 100% firmly understand the benefits of something, you naturally want to do it. So we want to remind ourselves of the benefits of accomplishing this goal. Why? Why do I want to become a writer? To inspire other people, right? That's a good reason, right? So those are things that you can contemplate in your meditation to combat feelings of being disinterested. Maybe you're like, okay, the procrastination one is totally me, right? I am just delaying, putting off. That's where I'm at right now. That's what I'm doing, right? So procrastination is kind of a tough one, right? And I might even do next week to expand upon this because it's pretty deep topic, like the procrastination part. But when we're procrastinating, there's an assumption that we're making, right? The assumption that we're making when we procrastinate is that I will have the opportunity to do this later, right? We're putting things off, right? I know this is important, but now is not the right time, is implying that later will be the right time. I will be able to do this later. Is that true? Can you say with certainty that you will have the opportunity to do this thing later, right? This is an interesting thing to think about, right? Really what we're getting at is we're meditating on how unpredictable life is, the impermanence of life. We don't know if we will have this opportunity later. What we do know is we have the opportunity right now, right? This is a tough one because essentially we don't like thinking about this. We don't like thinking about our opportunities going away, or we don't think like thinking about life being unpredictable or that we don't have guarantees and things like that, right? We don't like thinking about that, but it's really important to think about because it's true. And if we can remind ourselves that we can't say with certainty that we will have this opportunity later, it might motivate us to recognize the truth that we have, the best opportunity we have is right now, because that's the thing that we're guaranteed right now, right? So if this thing is super important to you, then right now, maybe right now is the time to do it, right? Does this make sense? Is this cool? So essentially, this is where we're going to stop for today. We're going to do a meditation on kind of identifying where we are in this cycle. But any questions on this? Like, I think this is a pretty good summary of where we all kind of are. We're all in one of these spots, right? Maybe we're in all three, right? Sometimes we're like really bouncing between all of them, right? I'm procrastinating. Oh, now I'm, disinterested. Now I've recognized that, and now I'm discouraged, right? And we bounce back and forth between them. So understanding the different ways we can use meditation, contemplation. Contemplation is like a fancy way of saying thinking, right? Using our relaxed mind to think about something. So understanding the ways we can use contemplation to kind of tilt the seesaw back in the other direction is really important. Is going to start to help us learn how to deal with feelings of procrastination, discouragement, and disinterest. Sound good? Hopefully. Okay, let's do a meditation. And this meditation will start pretty similar to how we started the first one. The one we did before, the breathing meditation. We're going to do a little breathing meditation. And then I'm going to guide us through just a little thought experiment of trying to identify where in the kind of wheel we are right now, right? And what are some things we can do to help combat that section that we're finding ourselves kind of trapped in right now, okay? All right. So, get back into your comfy, relaxed position, all right? You can go ahead and close your eyes and just follow along with what I'm saying. We're going to do a meditation on identifying a lack of motivation, okay? So once again, just check in with yourself. How are you feeling now? Different? The same? Whatever it is, just notice. We're training in mindfulness, which we now know is very important in helping us combat feelings of procrastination, disinterest, and discouragement. Just notice how you're feeling. And having checked in, we can turn our full attention to our breathing once again, in and out of our nose, very gently, very naturally. Breathing in and out. See if you can follow your full in-breath and your full out-breath. And if you find your attention has drifted and it's thinking about something other than your breath, just gently guide it back. Guide your attention back to enjoying each breath in and out and allowing yourself to relax. Breathing in and out very gently, very naturally. as you plug into your breathing, you may start to notice some things about breathing that you hadn't noticed before, some sensations. How the air feels cool on the tip of your nose as you inhale, and how it feels warmer as you exhale. How your whole body moves with each breath, shoulders rising and falling, chest expanding, contracting. Everything moving as one. You're beginning to find some subtle joys in breathing. In and out. Very gently, very naturally. This is meditation. You are a meditator. You are training your mind to relax, to be calm. And you're doing it all on your own with nothing other than your breath. How wonderful. So after breathing in and out in this way, focusing single-pointedly on our breath, we may find ourselves feeling a little more calm, even just slightly more peaceful. We've cleared away some of the raindrops that were obscuring the reflection on the lake. We can now use this relaxed mind, this more peaceful mind state, to investigate something that maybe is troubling us, something we want to learn. This is called contemplation. Just follow along with what I'm saying. I'd like you to bring to mind a goal, something that's important to you that you've always wanted to do or that you're currently in the process of doing. It doesn't have to be something super grand or lofty, just something personal to you that you want to do. And in thinking about this goal, this thing you want to accomplish, we can start to investigate if we've been procrastinating with this. Have we found ourselves thinking, now's not the right time? I'll do this later. Later will be better. All of these things. Have we found ourselves saying this about our goal? And if so, we can think about how we don't know. We can't say with certainty that we'll have the opportunity to do this later. Maybe now is the right time. Maybe now is the right opportunity. Maybe we found ourselves becoming disinterested in our goal, or becoming increasingly attracted to other things that are not our goal, so much so that we're finding ourselves viewing our goal as getting in the way of things, getting in the way of our life. If that's something you've experienced, maybe you can remind yourself why you want to accomplish this goal in the first place. What are the benefits of doing it? How will your life be better by accomplishing this goal? Reignite the spark, the flame that motivates you. Maybe through our investigation, you find that you become very discouraged. You've recognized you've been putting things off. You've recognized that you have gained a disinterest towards your goal, and now you're feeling discouraged. You're feeling incapable of accomplishing this thing that is incredibly important to you. If this is where you find yourself, you need to remind yourself that your thoughts are not you. You can experience these thoughts of procrastination, of disinterest, of discouragement, and still be capable of changing, still be capable of righting the ship, because you, at your core, are capable. You can prove that to yourself right now by thinking about some of the things you have accomplished, things you have learned on your own. So in your meditations, you can try to identify which of these sections you're struggling with, and then apply the opposing force. Tilt the scales back in favor of your goal. Just sit with that for a little while. Allow yourself to sit here and enjoy relaxing. Enjoy a reinvigorated sense of wishing to accomplish your goal. Okay, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So this is what I would refer to as a complete meditation, a full meditation. We did breathing meditation to relax our mind, and then we looked at something. You can look at anything, right? You can look at anything. That's the kind of beauty and power of meditation. You're just using your mind to think about things, to come to some interesting conclusions about things, right? So here we were starting to get used to, get familiar, there's that word, get familiar with identifying where in this kind of cycle of lack of motivation we are right now, and then reminding ourselves of the ways we can combat that, tilt the scales back in the other direction, right? Does that make sense? Was that, if nothing else, was it at least relaxing? Thought-provoking, something like that? Hopefully. So if you did find this helpful or cool or interesting or relaxing or something good, come back. Right, Toshita, great. Thanks. I appreciate that. I'm glad you had a good experience. So every Wednesday we do something different. Sometimes we repeat things. We got new people here all the time, so there's a lot of really core topics to meditation, but we always try to bounce around and give people a sense of what they can do with meditation, because everyone connects with things differently. Samantha, this is very helpful. Motivation. Greg, I'm glad you're feeling motivated. Randy, this is wonderful. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm glad you had a good experience. So I definitely encourage you to come back. There's always new things for us to look at together. And it will, if nothing else, help build up a habit of you starting to meditate, doing it weekly, right? Toshita, I usually don't procrastinate, But by pondering on it, I found one area of my life where I actually do. Wonderful. Wonderful. That's a beautiful example of what meditation can do, right? Normally, we're just letting our mind be distracted so much so that you probably never thought that you're procrastinating on this thing, right? Until you took time to really think about it, and then, oh, wow, right? That's the brilliance of meditation. Joseph, it was relaxing, but confronting procrastination sounds like work. Yes, it is a lot of work. And it is a lot of work because we've been in the wheel for a very long time, right? So we've reinforced these habits, right, of thinking of ourselves as incapable, as being disinterested. We've reinforced all these things for so long that the forest fire has grown, right? And so it's going to take time for us to kind of get it under control, but we can do it. You can do it, right? You just have to start somewhere, right? Today's day one, right? We're starting. Salon, thank you. Super helpful. I'm glad it was helpful. So come back if you want to. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. I do these every week, and that will remind you that it's happening. Maybe you get kind of, we all have super busy lives. You forget, like, oh, it's Wednesday, I'm supposed to be meditating. It'll remind you. It's a nice little benefit, right? And then if you're super into meditation, you think like, you know what, this is cool. I want to learn more about this with maybe some things that are specific to my life. I do one-on-one instruction. I also do things with work. So a lot of times I'll do like workplace meditations, right, for getting everyone nice and chill at work. If nothing else, you get a little break from work. You get to hang out and meditate. So maybe bring that up at the old next meeting. So if any of that stuff sounds cool to you, just email me and we can work something out. My email, I will put in the chat right now, is keith@meditationbreaks.com. Please let me spell that correctly. Okay. Joseph, good topic. Thanks for coming up with good things to work on. Well, the kind of good and bad of being human is there's a lot of things to work on, right? But it's fun and encouraging to see that we can make progress, right? So I'm glad that you've found this to be helpful. Great session. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Everyone have a great week, and I will see you next Wednesday.